Welcome to the deep dive. We're tackling a universal experience today, something that can uh, stir up a lot of emotion. Those moments when our closest connections, our family, don't quite align with our choices or, who we are.
hmm
It's a tough spot many of you have likely navigated.
It really is. And what makes family disagreements so potent is that, well, that intricate web of history and deep-seated connection, disapproval from family can really resonate quite profoundly.
Absolutely. So our aim today is to offer you a new lens, sort of through which to view these challenging family dynamics. We're going to explore the let them theory
Mm.
and the insightful concept of frame of reference. Think of this as your guide to understanding how to respond constructively when faced with family disapproval without getting caught in the trap of trying to change their minds.
And our exploration today is rooted in Chapter 6 of a work that offers a really practical approach to these complex interpersonal dynamics.
Okay, let's start by digging into why disapproval from family feels so uniquely challenging. I mean, we can often shrug off a negative comment from an acquaintance, right?
Right.
But when it comes from family, it can sting for days. What's that about?
It's that lifelong narrative, isn't it? As the source highlights, family hits different. These are the people who've often known us since we were kids.
Yeah.
That shared history fosters a deep sense of investment, and as a result, their opinions can feel like they carry significant weight, shaping our sense of self and, belonging within the family unit.
And it surfaces in so many areas of life, doesn't it? From how we celebrate holidays to our partners or, hey, our choice to be single,
Oh, definitely.
our career path, even our friendships. I know I've personally experienced family perspectives on, well, pretty much all of those.
Indeed. And often, those underlying reasons, while they can be frustrating, actually stem from a place of genuine care, or at least what they perceive as care. They want to see you happy and successful, even if their way of expressing that involves what feels like pressure or questioning or just really strong opinions.
Right, like they know best.
Exactly. There's often a feeling of entitlement to these opinions, based on that long shared history and a deeply held belief that they know what's best, which often aligns with what has felt right for them in their own lives.
It's almost like they have this blueprint in their minds of who we should be and what our lives should look like.
Yeah,
And when we veer off that perceived path, it creates friction.
precisely. The source describes the family as an interconnected system. Imagine like a mobile hanging in the air.
Okay.
If you adjust one piece, the entire structure shifts and reacts. Any significant change an individual makes, whether it's, say, navigating a divorce, altering long-standing traditions,
Right.
marrying someone from a different background, or pursuing an unconventional career, it can create ripples. Positive or negative waves, the source calls them.
Ripples throughout the whole family.
Yeah, throughout the entire family, sometimes leading to quite dramatic reactions as the system tries to sort of regain its balance.
That's a really insightful analogy.
Yeah.
I've definitely witnessed those ripple effects firsthand. And it becomes particularly intricate when you introduce stepfamilies into the equation.
Oh, absolutely.
That's like adding a whole new set of interconnected mobiles, isn't it?
It really is. The source emphasizes that stepfamilies represent a major shock to the family system. The established norms, the expectations for how a household functions, they're often just upended.
Yeah.
And while change can be difficult for everyone involved, it can be especially challenging for stepchildren who might be grappling with the loss of their original family structure and feeling a sense of threat maybe in the new dynamics.
So how can the let them theory be a helpful framework in that context, especially for step-parents navigating these, really sensitive situations?
Well, the source suggests that for step-parents, embracing the let them theory can be transformative. It's about recognizing the importance of allowing stepchildren to let them grieve
Yeah.
the changes in their family.
Okay. Let them grieve.
Let them grieve. And to let them see you, and perhaps your children, as a potential threat, acknowledging that there's a natural adjustment period.
Right. That initial resistance.
Exactly. A perceived competition, maybe, for their parents' time and attention, to let them feel their full range of emotions, whether that's sadness, anger, confusion, or resentment.
All of it.
All of it. And crucially, to let them have dedicated time alone with their parent. The core understanding here is they don't have to like you.
Wow. That's a really powerful and maybe counterintuitive perspective. It seems to take a lot of pressure off the step-parent to, force an immediate bond.
Exactly. It's about understanding their frame of reference, They've experienced a significant disruption in their lives, and they're adapting to a new reality. Expecting instant acceptance is often unrealistic and can actually hinder the development of a genuine relationship over time. The source reminds us that stepchildren are navigating complex emotions. They need understanding, grace, and compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Because they aren't just accepting a new adult into their lives, they are also grieving the loss of the family they once knew and wanted.
Okay, so we're starting to see the power of acknowledging others' feelings and perspectives. Now let's get to the heart of it, the let them theory itself. What are the core principles?
Okay. At its core, the let them theory centers on giving loved ones the freedom to hold their own opinions, even negative ones, about your life choices and who you are,
Just letting them have the opinion.
letting them have it. And the crucial element here is consciously choosing not to try to change their minds, is recognizing that they are entitled to their own thoughts and feelings, whether it's your stepchildren, your in-laws, or even your closest family members.
It sounds almost like a passive approach on the surface, but I imagine there's a vital active component that follows.
Oh, absolutely. The essential follow-up is, let me choose how to respond.
Ah, okay, let me.
This is where your agency comes in.
Yeah.
It shifts the entire focus from attempting to control someone else's internal world to actively managing your own reactions, your behaviors, your boundaries. That's where your true power lies in these interactions.
Okay, let them have their opinions and let me control my response. That makes logical sense. But putting that into practice,
Yeah.
especially when those opinions feel deeply personal, well, that can be incredibly challenging.
It really can.
That's where the concept of frame of reference becomes so important, right?
Precisely. Frame of reference is a powerful tool that works in tandem with the let them theory. It's about understanding the lens through which another person perceives a situation.
Seeing through their eyes.
Exactly. Think of it as a conscious effort to step outside your own viewpoint and see the world through someone else's eyes based on their experiences.
And you have a compelling personal story that really illustrates this concept in action, don't you? Your own experience with your mother's initial reaction to your husband.
Yes, I do. When I met my husband, Chris, I was just absolutely thrilled, over the moon.
As you would be.
Right. But my mom didn't share that initial enthusiasm. Not at all. In fact, when we got engaged and I was hoping for, an outpouring of joy,
Yeah.
she told me quite directly that she wouldn't have chosen him for me.
Oh, wow. That must have been incredibly difficult to hear, especially then.
It was. It really was. I felt a mix of hurt and, honestly, confusion. Here I was, feeling like I had found my life partner, and my own mother was expressing such clear disapproval.
Oof.
Yeah. It created a significant tension in our relationship for a while. It wasn't until I made a real effort to understand her frame of reference that I could truly process that initial reaction and, move forward.
So what was shaping her perspective? What was she seeing or experiencing that you weren't initially aware of?
Well, her frame of reference was deeply rooted in her own life experiences. She grew up in a very close-knit family in upstate New York and left home at a young age for college in the Midwest. There, she met my father. They fell in love quickly, and by the time she was my age, she was married with a young child, me.
Right.
And she never moved back to be near her family. She raised her own family far away from her parents and siblings, often with, pretty limited support.
So when you chose to move to the East Coast and build a life there with Chris, who was also from that region, that triggered some deep-seated anxieties for her.
Exactly. Her biggest fear, based on her own life journey, was that I would repeat her experience, move far away, start a family, and she would rarely get the chance to see me or be part of that life.
Oh.
My marrying someone from the East Coast seemed to just solidify that fear in her mind. From her perspective, history was potentially repeating itself, and she was facing the prospect of losing her daughter, in a way similar to how she had felt disconnected from her own family.
So her initial reaction wasn't necessarily a judgment of Chris as a person,
No.
but more about her own anxieties and desires related to your proximity to keeping you close.
Precisely. From her frame of reference, her reluctance wasn't really about Chris's character or our relationship, but it was a manifestation of her love for me and her fear of the distance that might grow between us.
That makes so much sense when you put it that way.
Right. And as I now reflect on my own feelings about my daughters as they navigate their lives, I can truly empathize with her perspective. Even the thought of them living far away brings up a pang of longing for me.
Sure.
Would I have chosen that for them? Probably not, based on my own desire to have them close. But that's my personal feeling stemming from my own frame of reference, and it doesn't negate their right to forge their own paths wherever they choose.
It's such a powerful realization that both things can be true. Your initial joy and her initial reluctance were both valid, just
Yeah,
originating from entirely different sets of experiences and concerns, different frames.
exactly. We were both right within our own frames of reference.
Yeah.
Understanding her perspective, her underlying fears, it helped me to shift from feeling like we were in conflict to a place of greater empathy and eventually a much more balanced connection in our relationship. Thankfully, she loves Chris now.
That's great to hear. It's remarkable how simply making the effort to see things from someone else's vantage point can diffuse so much tension. But it's also true that it's often easier said than done, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Especially when those opinions feel truly hurtful or even cross into prejudice territory.
It requires a significant degree of emotional maturity, really, to consciously step outside of your own emotional response and try to understand someone else's perspective, particularly in those highly charged situations.
Definitely.
And the source acknowledges that deciding whether to maintain a relationship with someone whose views are harmful is a deeply personal boundary to set. That's okay.
Right.
However, the let them theory can still create a sense of internal space and peace if you do choose to remain in contact.
So, by consciously choosing not to engage in arguments or trying to force someone to change their deeply held beliefs, you create an opening for the dynamic to potentially evolve more naturally over time.
That's a key insight. The source suggests that when you give people the space to arrive at their own conclusions and you focus on showing up authentically and with compassion over time, individuals often shift their perspectives on their own.
Interesting. So less pushing, more allowing.
Exactly. And even if fundamental opinions don't change, understanding their frame of reference can deepen your connection simply by allowing for the possibility of two seemingly contradictory things to be true at once.
Mm-hmm.
You can understand the origins of their viewpoint without necessarily condoning or agreeing with it. You can see where it comes from.
It sounds like a real exercise in empathy, even when it's most challenging. The source also touches on how easy it is to become frustrated with various family dynamics, whether it's siblings, navigating relationships with divorced parents, dealing with in-laws, or, relating to adult children with different lifestyles.
All those common friction points.
Yeah, and how tempting it can be to simply shut down and refuse to try and understand.
That's a very natural human tendency, isn't it? It often feels easier in the short term to just assign blame or withdraw than to invest the energy in trying to understand a different perspective.
It really does.
But the source offers a powerful reminder. All it takes is one person to consciously shift how they engage within a family, and the entire system has the potential to change for the better.
Wow.
And that person is you.
So by actively adopting the let them theory and consciously practicing frame of reference, we're essentially taking that proactive first step towards fostering more positive change within our own family system. We're being that one person.
Precisely. By focusing on your own internal responses and making an effort to understand others' perspectives, you positively influence the entire dynamic. The source shares a personal anecdote about how situations that once triggered significant stress now have a diminished impact.
Because the focus shifts.
Yes, the focus shifts from reacting to external opinions to aligning your actions with your own core values. What's important to you?
And there's a really poignant reminder in the source about the precious and limited time we have with our loved ones. And the fundamental truth that everyone is navigating life and basically doing the best they can with their own unique set of experiences and the emotional and intellectual resources they possess at any given time.
That's such a critical point to remember. People can only connect with you and understand you to the depth that they have connected with and understood themselves.
That's deep.
It is, and many individuals simply haven't undertaken the deep personal work required for profound self-awareness or, sophisticated emotional regulation.
Yeah.
So in those situations, let them be where they are on their own journey. This isn't about excusing harmful behavior, let's be clear,
Right, not at all.
but about accepting the reality that others may not yet be capable of showing up in the way you might hope or deserve.
And that act of acceptance, while it might initially sound disheartening or even like giving up, it ultimately leads to reclaiming your own sense of agency and personal power.
Exactly. By accepting your family members as they are, without the constant battle to change them, you liberate yourself from that ongoing struggle. You take back your energy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the crucial let me aspect comes back into play. Consciously deciding what kind of relationship you want to cultivate based on your own deeply held values.
Okay, so what does that look like practically?
Well, it might involve intentionally choosing when and how you spend time together, defining your own traditions, maybe ones that feel more authentic to you,
Right.
establishing clear and healthy boundaries,
Yeah.
proactively expressing positive emotions when you genuinely feel them, engaging in difficult conversations when necessary, but maybe from that place of understanding,
Mm-hmm.
or even sometimes creating distance if that aligns with your well-being and your values.
So, to bring it all together and summarize these key takeaways, the problem is we often inadvertently give too much weight, too much power to the opinions of others,
Yeah.
which can ultimately limit our potential and create negative emotional patterns. The truth, or maybe a hard truth, is people will inevitably hold a range of opinions, positive and negative, and trying to control those thoughts is often just a futile exercise, a waste of energy.
Right.
The empowering solution lies in the let them aspect, allowing others their perspectives, which frees us to pursue our own paths with greater clarity and conviction.
Mhm.
And when our actions are aligned with our core values, it fosters a sense of self-pride that diminishes the significance of external opinions. They just matter less.
Exactly. Ultimately, let them focuses on releasing our need to control others' thoughts,
Okay.
while let me empowers us to take charge of our own responses and choices.
Let them think what they think. Let me choose how I act and feel.
Precisely. You possess the agency to determine your reactions and the nature of the relationships you nurture, even when faced with disapproval from those closest to you.
So for you, our listener, as you navigate the intricate landscape of your own family relationships, we encourage you to consider one specific dynamic, maybe one that feels particularly sticky right now.
Mhm.
Where could applying the let them theory and consciously trying to understand the other person's frame of reference perhaps create a shift, even a small one?
It's a great question to reflect on.
What kind of relationship do you want to actively create moving forward? It's a really powerful question to sit with and explore. Thanks for diving deep with us today.